So welcome back to the show. We're broadcasting again, metaphysically, from NRG Stadium on Kirby Drive. My name is Aaron Trevino.
I'm Ellie Trevino.
If you're new to the podcast, this is a podcast for everybody. We want to make sure that we get perspective from someone who's new to sports, like Ellie, and someone who has been watching sports for a long time. So that's the basic gist of it. We're just going to jump right in. We were going to open the show with the women's college Final Four because the LSU-Iowa game was ridiculous.
It was pretty crazy.
So was everybody's reaction to it. I think it was a little bit excessive. Mildly racially charged, I'll say. So,
but we can talk about that later.
Yeah. But big news broke this morning, correct?
Big news did break this morning. Stefon Diggs, Texans. Future Texans legend, Stefon Diggs.
Texans legend Stefon Diggs. You heard it here first. Ellie is taking her claim on that. So the Texans this morning, people were questioning a lot whenever they traded their first-round pick for this year to the Vikings for a second-round pick next year. They used that pick today to send that pick to Buffalo in exchange for Stefon Diggs, a 2024 sixth-round pick, so that's 189 overall, and then a 2025 fifth-round pick. So not just Stefon Diggs, but they got picks back in return. I think that's a pretty good deal.
It's a pretty good deal.
He is a really good player. He kind of slumped towards the end of the season last year. I don't think he recorded 100 yards in a game after the first 6 games, and I think he only caught 3 touchdowns after those first 6 games. So who knows? I know that he was very unhappy in Buffalo a lot of the time.
Oh, that's sad.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's sad or if it's obnoxious. I haven't decided yet. He's definitely one of those guys who loves to be on Twitter. He's like Kevin Durant of the NFL. He and his brother actually have been known to...
Wait, who's his brother?
His brother's Trayvon Diggs, the corner for the Cowboys. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Brother once famously tweeted, somebody got to get 14 out of Buffalo, which Stefon Diggs wears number 14. And for whatever reason, for the longest time, Stefon Diggs and the Buffalo Bills have come up short against Patrick Mahomes, the greatest quarterback of our generation.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been a buzzsaw for them. And
even at Buffalo.
Yeah. So I think that frustration just kind of boiled over a lot, not being able to get it done. I don't know about, like, your brother chiming in for you. I mean, what do you think, think about that?
I mean, is it a little brother or a bigger brother?
I mean, they're both in the NFL, so does it. I think it's his younger brother, but...
Oh, I was going to say, just his little bro in the back, like... I want better for him, but I mean, you're the Cowboys, so I think you should want better for yourself first. But I mean, before you wish it for anyone else. Yeah. But I mean, probably just wants to see his brother happy and do well.
Right, but also it's like it's a little bit confrontational, don't you think? Like,
oh, is that how it was supposed to be? Oh, to like the Bills.
Yeah, well, like he's saying, like somebody's got to get him out of there, as in
saying like he's trapped.
Yeah, or like he needs a better situation to win, essentially.
Oh.
So like he wasn't saying like I hope he pulls through with the Bills. He's saying like somebody get him out of Buffalo now. Because it's a problem there. Oh.
Because he's just like wasting his talent there, or just because like something is wrong in the Buffalo organization.
Well, that's the one thing that I that's the one thing that I thought was a little bit worrisome, because he is like very vocal online. And very, like, I'm not getting the ball. I need to, like, get the ball more. Josh Allen, you're terrible. Like, I need to get the ball.
Yikes.
And I think Josh Allen, like, every offseason before this, basically, it's, like, a yearly tradition where Josh Allen has to go in front of reporters and be like, I talked to Stefon. He doesn't hate me anymore. It's okay. Buffalo Bills fans, just relax. He's not going to leave because he hates me. This year... He's
leaving because he hates him.
Yeah. He didn't make it through the offseason. So, Thanks. Yeah, it's not...
No forgiveness this year.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time coming. And, I don't know, he has a history of being traded around. The Vikings. He used to play for the Vikings.
Oh, yes. I do remember that.
He caught that one pass in the playoff game.
Him from.
Yeah. And he caught, like, a game winner with no time left on the clock from Houston Texans legend Case Keenum. And...
Shout out.
to beat the Saints in a playoff game, and then he was traded from the Vikings to the Bills for a first-round pick. Do you know who that first-round pick ended up being?
He was traded from the Vikings
to the Bills for a package that included the Bills' first-round pick that year.
I could not tell you.
It was Justin Jefferson.
Oh my gosh, for real?
The Bills could have stayed put and picked Justin Jefferson, but they traded for Stefon Diggs. And I mean, he played well for the first part of that contract. Like, he wasn't like, over the past couple of years, he's been one of the best receivers in the NFL. So I'm sure you would still rather have Justin Jefferson just because he's like 24 and Stefon Diggs is going to turn 31 this year, I think.
He's going to turn 31 this year?
Yeah. So he got a late start in his career. So.
All right.
But, I mean, I think he's a good player. I think that there was a lot of stuff going wrong in Buffalo last year. I think that, I don't know, like just before, I'll show you the tweet that really like started people cooking on this. So, RG3, one of the analysts for ESPN, I think, started this conversation. Said, is Stefon Diggs essential to Josh Allen's success? Now, the thing about quarterbacks who run it all, most cases, quarterbacks who are black that run it all. This is a just topic of discussion, but applicable to all races at most times. So, if a quarterback scrambles for more than 5 yards in a game, automatically they're terrible. They're running backs who can't throw the ball to save their life. So, that's the narrative that Josh Allen ran with. And honestly, like, watching Josh Allen play football the first couple of years was probably the funniest thing you could do. I remember vividly, because I played here in 2019. I think this is before you were a fan.
Probably. That's when I graduated high school.
Yeah. So this is before Deshaun Watson was deemed a predator. This is before all of that.
Yikes.
This is the last time that I was happy as a Texans fan before last year. They came into NRG Stadium to play the Texans. I think the first touchdown they scored was he threw it to either the running back or wide receiver, and then they threw it back to him. And he ran he caught like a receiving touchdown. That's like the first touchdown they scored that game. And I vividly remember saying to my dad, like, at some point they're going to have to line up and play football. They can't just because there was a read option. They got to like 50 yards. So he like faked the hand up to the running back and took off running for like 50 yards and then caught the touchdown pass. It's like, at some point you have to line up and get under center and play football. Turns out they couldn't do that. I remember one time, I don't know why he did this. They were leading basically the whole game. And they're driving down the field. Josh Allen is in trouble. And he's running to his right on the right side of the field. And for no reason whatsoever, he just kind of he starts to go down. And at the same time, throws the ball backwards over his head without looking at all. And I think Dawson Knox was in the area, but he definitely didn't make eye contact with him and make sure that he's looking for the ball. So he just kind of was falling down and just threw it back there. Luckily, I think the ball either Dawson Knox fell on it or it went out of bounds, but he just reckless abandon playing with his head cut off.
That's crazy.
He came from a small school, so
I do remember reading about that.
Yeah.
They posted his whole journey backstory. He wasn't drafted, obviously, I guess, right?
No, he was drafted third overall.
Oh, just kidding.
Let's see.
There was something about the colleges that he went. The first college he went to didn't want him per se, and then he went to some weird one out in either Idaho or.
He went to Wyoming.
We one of the ones out there.
A guy from our school go to Wyoming.
Oh really?
Alex Brown, right?
Yeah.
He was drafted number 7 overall.
Dang, that's not bad.
Yeah, he had the same sort of career trajectory as Trey Lance. I think he's the reason that Trey Lance was drafted so high, because guys that come from D2, D3, a lot of times, especially quarterbacks, they're seen as raw talents, and certainly Josh Allen is huge. He's a monster and he's very fast, and he just has a rocket for an arm. He can just sling that thing all over the park. But he, like I said, just ran around a lot, because in D2 you can, right? You're definitely playing with a lot of future accountants and things like that in those games. But he would just kind of run in circles. I think there's one play where he kind of runs 30 yards back. Basically, I think he actually does step out of bounds, but then blow the whistle. And then he manages to run all the way back through all of the players that were chasing him and then dive forward for like 8 yards.
Yeah, he's crazy.
So people will see stuff like that. NFL GMs will see something where a guy is just like super, like a really good frame, strong arm, good speed for their size. And they'll say, even though he doesn't like have to be as refined because the defenses he's playing aren't as high level, aren't as like systematically complex as he'll be facing in the NFL, like we'll take him and we'll give him time to like learn the game and develop himself, and then hopefully if he can learn how to play quarterback at the next level, he will be a good quarterback who's also like an athletic freak at the same time.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
That was their vision with Josh Allen.
He's a baby. He's a little baby face when he got drafted.
Yeah, he is definitely a different, but he's like sexy now. But
there's
yeah,
some facial hair.
Back then he was definitely a baby.
Bobblehead. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so at that point he was kind of like a question mark. He could make plays with his legs a lot, do all the things that you want somebody like Josh Allen to be able to do, change games with his legs and like his improvisation skills, but he really was not someone who was gonna throw for 300 yards every game. And that, again, that's like a big criteria for people who are going to stick around a long time as quarterbacks. Thought that you can't really win without someone who can like go down the field and win you a game.
Yeah.
When you can't necessarily run the ball because the clock is going to run out.
Yeah.
So basically, the Bills went out and got a receiver for him so that he could develop. And once they acquired Stefon Diggs, he just blew up overnight.
Dang.
So.
Aww.
He has been very good since Stefon Diggs came into the building like 3 years ago.
Shoot.
So here Robert Griffin III is asking, he has been since he got to Buffalo in 2020. So in response to, is Stefon Diggs essential to Josh Allen's success? He has been since he got to Buffalo in 2020. They're better together, and if Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen stay together with the Buffalo Bills this year, their championship window is wide open. Now, somebody with a blue check mark said, does Josh benefit from having a top-tier receiver? Yes. Is he essential to his success? No. Now, Stefon Diggs saw this.
The profile picture is so funny.
I don't know. I don't think anybody's sure if he knew that he was getting traded at this point.
Yeah.
But he responded to this guy saying, no, Stefon Diggs is not essential to Josh Allen's success. And he just said, you sure? ? So.
Dang. That's crazy. He is not forgiving Josh Allen this offseason.
Yeah. So he's not, I don't think Josh, at least they don't have to do their press conference this year.
At least Josh can have that day off.
Yeah. He can just go back to making Instagram reels with the social media team.
Those are so funny.
So yeah, what are your first thoughts about Stefon Diggs, the Stefon Diggs trade?
I mean, obviously, like, he's a big name. I, like, whenever Bills games are on, like, that's one of the names that you hear almost as frequently as Josh Allen. So, like, maybe he is essential to his success. But, I mean, again, you can't, as a quarterback, you can't, like, put the whole game on your shoulders. Like, it has to be, like, a team effort, you know? But, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited because he's cracked.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good. It may not have been so towards the end of the season, but I mean, any number of things can contribute to like his stats going down. He may have just kind of felt like, you know, this is kind of the end of the road. Also, sorry, our cat is rolling in tissue paper behind us, so she likes to entertain herself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could have been that he was just tired of being in Buffalo. He felt like maybe this is his last season. He felt discouraged. Like, I don't know, a number of things, or like maybe he just wasn't like feeling well physically. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But I have high hopes for him coming to Houston, and a lot of people have been saying that, you know, I don't know, back when we thought we were gonna get Saquon, R.I.P. People were like, the Texans is like a fun team to be on now. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people were like, I think I would maybe move to Houston to be on that team because it seems like they have like a lot of fun and it's a really good environment to be in. And so I feel like in any good environment, like any player can thrive.
Yeah.
So this may be like a new win for him. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that gives me a little bit of confidence. Because like when I see someone like, I don't know, these guys are all like grown adults. I think that a lot of times we want to see them as like, oh, these are like superheroes and like good, like little Lego pieces you put into a team and like everyone has to be nice and friendly, and if they're not, then it's not going to work on the field. And I don't think that's the case. I think that, but even still, like I think that like I get a little bit worried whenever someone like Stefon Diggs comes into an environment that's been like super positive and the whole city has really been behind every player on the team.
Yeah.
So I get a little bit concerned, but I think that if someone can manage personalities, I think it's D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah.
I don't think that the locker room was very much fun in Buffalo.
Probably not.
I think that...
I hope it wasn't Stefon's fault either.
I mean, yeah, I just think that like Sean McDermott, the Buffalo head coach, was not really in a position to motivate his players effectively. I think that, like, I think his 9/11 speech was the one that kind of put him over the edge for me. You haven't heard this story?
Oh, didn't he get in trouble for that? It was recent, right?
Well,
he compared.
Yeah, he was basically like trying to get his team hyped up, and he said, like, we got to communicate on the field.
I remember that.
Just like the terrorists in the 9/11 attacks communicated with each other.
Yeah, that's foul. That's pretty bad.
So, and not only did he say that, which is like crazy, and I don't know if I would be like...
With full confidence.
Yeah, I would never say something like that. Like, I would have enough awareness, I feel like, to not be like... That's like every annoying kid in your school that was like, actually, Hitler was a really great leader. He was just a bad person. It's like, oh, do you think you're quirky for that take? Do you think that... Oh, actually, semantically, he was a great public speaker. Okay, man.
Doesn't matter. Don't care.
Should we induct him into the Hall of Fame of public speakers then and just forget about the genocide or what? Like, what's wrong with you? In the same vein, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, I don't think anything like that is happening in the Houston locker room.
I hope not. I don't think that's what they got going on in there.
But not only did he say that, but like someone... Because clearly, like, they're... Not anymore. I mean, the whole Buffalo team is gone. I think they've jettisoned like 7 of their starters the past year.
They're in shambles.
But like people have been around since he gave that speech. It wasn't this year that he gave the speech. It was a couple of years ago.
Oh.
But people have been around. They were there for that speech. They didn't say anything until like this year, when clearly people were fed up enough to be like, okay, I've been sitting on this for a long time. I'm putting this out here because
this has been boiling for a while. Because
this locker room's in shambles. Why not just throw some more jet fuel on it and burn it to the ground?
Yikes. It is not going well in Buffalo. It really is not going well in Buffalo.
Yeah, they signed Curtis Samuel, who is like a utility guy to play wide receiver for them. They have I think Khalil Shakir was like a 3rd round pick, who we have on our dynasty team. Those are the guys at the top of the depth chart for them now. So I'm sure they'll make another move, probably draft somebody with their picks, but I don't know. I just don't think that it's going to... I think Josh Allen's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting this year if they want to do anything significant. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how the Buffalo team unfolds. Do we play them this year?
Seems like it. Our schedule is ridiculous. I feel like we should.
Pretty freaking crazy. It'll really good thing we got all these people because it'll really put us to the test facing all these good teams.
Yeah, I think that's kind of their whole deal. It's just like because whenever like Tank Dell went down, it was Nico and nobody else.
Yeah, literally.
So even if I've seen a couple people say like it's a lot of mouths to feed. Like that's another thing. Like okay, like hopefully Stefon Diggs is not getting annoyed because there's 3 good receivers on this team that need the ball, plus Dalton Schultz. So I don't know. Just
got to be more of a team player, which I feel like you said, like D'Amico's really good about inspiring and like pointing back to like the root of things, like what's the purpose and everything. Like I feel like he's a very good like motivator for the right reasons. Like, and I feel like he would emphasize like, hey, look, like you're a really good player, that's why we got you. You got the trust that we know that, and you need to like, you know, take one for the team, literally. Like you're gonna get the ball, then Nico's gonna get the ball, then Dalton's gonna get the ball, and then Tank's gonna get the ball. And you know, like CJ's just maybe more like comfortable with giving one person one type of ball and then another person the other type of ball. That's just how it goes. And like he and Tank, like CJ and Tank have done, like you gotta have that like relationship, and it really does make the difference when you can like trust that person because you have like a personal relationship that's outside of sports, and you like, you know, like who they are, not just as a player but like as a person. I feel like it makes it a lot easier for them to utilize each other. But we'll see. CJ's a good guy too. So.
And I think winning cures all as well. Not that the Bills weren't winning. I think that I think it was just time for a change. I think they lost to Patrick Mahomes probably 3 or 4 times the last 5 years.
I'd be pretty pissed too.
I think you just gotta
pack it up.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I don't know. You tried, and I think now you get to start that clock over of like frustration. Like, okay, new environment. We'll give it a couple years, see how we do with this team.
Yeah.
I think last year, like T.R. Tart, defensive tackle, was playing for the Titans the week before we played them the first time. He had a lot of issues with like work ethic and like attitude. I think attitude problems was more of his issue, and he felt like he should have a bigger role on the team. He felt like he wasn't getting the playing time he deserved, so the Titans agreed to cut him, and then the Texans signed him. Even though, again, like I felt the same way I do now, where I was like, I don't know, this guy seems like he's definitely not going to slot in and start every down for the Texans last year, and he didn't, but he got to play occasionally, and, you know, didn't hear any issues from it. So I think that, like, again, like going from the Titans, who were not going to make the playoffs, to the Texans, who had like a magical run last year, you'll sit on the bench for that team. I wouldn't want to sit on the bench for a Titans team.
Nah.
That's like going nowhere.
It isn't fun.
Yeah, that's not. I would like. I had fun just going to the games.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being on the team, even if I never get in. Like I never got in the game. I was having fun. So
they didn't put me in, but I was having a blast. No, it was. Oh my gosh, literally electric in there. And the players said that too. They were like, "We've never heard it this loud in here."
Yeah. I think that this year was probably like the most fun I've ever had at a Texans game. There have been a lot of quiet years the last 3 years. So it was good to be back. And it's good to be here now in NRG Stadium.
Right here, in this moment, in NRG Stadium. Feels like home.
But that's what we have for the NFL today. This is big news. Now we can talk about probably the biggest news from the last week is like the women's Final Four got decided this weekend. I think the first games on Sunday, right? Those are when the first 2 games happened. Mm-hmm. South Carolina, they were like fighting. They were in a dogfight for a second there, but they managed to pull it out. And NC State pulled an upset, so their campus is probably going crazy right now because both of their teams are in the Final Four.
That's crazy. Ugh, that is true. Dang.
Do you see that guy who emailed his professor and say like, "Can you please move the test from Tuesday to Wednesday? Like I'm so drunk right now."
Oh my gosh, I didn't see that, but
yeah, the professor moved it. So
yeah,
good for them.
Good for them. Hey, he's a real one for that.
Yeah, but the biggest games, and I think this is like the most attention I've seen women's sports get ever. I think, which is so cool. I think it was great for the sport.
Yeah.
Undertones aside, like I think that like the Iowa and LSU game was electric.
It was.
It was tied at half, and I think that Angel Reese and Flavia Johnson played an amazing game. Like
I mean, they're incredible. They're phenomenal athletes.
And I like again, we love Flavia. We're Flavia Johnson podcast. I think like
we love her.
Yeah.
Shout out Flavia.
She is gonna have like a really great future at LSU.
Yeah, I'm excited for her.
I can't wait to watch her next year at LSU. But I mean, like, and it was tied at half, and coming out of half, like, I don't know. I don't know if like Kim Mulkey just hated Haley Van Lith or what, but she just left her on an island out there. Haley Van Lith, I think, is 5'7". And
we're up against Caitlin all by herself.
And Caitlin Clark, like, I don't know, it just felt like she couldn't miss. Like, they came out of halftime, and Iowa went on like started to go on a little bit of a run. LSU got a couple buckets there, and then just forget about it. Caitlin Clark was just inevitable. She was gonna win that game no matter what.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If she had something to say about it, she was not gonna lose that game.
Yeah, I think that a lot of and we'll talk about the narrative in a second surrounding it, but I think a lot of the statements that Caitlin Clark was making, she was talking about how like it wasn't personal, about how her and Angel are good friends, and how,
which I like, because they also posted something about like the USA like women's team,
mm-hmm.
and how they're both on it, and so is Haley.
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin, Angel, and Haley are all on it, and she's like, I love that I get to play with such talented people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's fun, and like that's, you know, at the end of the day, like, yeah, you're playing a game and you want to win, but like, you know, you both have such respect for the game, you know.
And I think that that's like, yeah, and Angel Reese said a lot of the same stuff leading up to the game. Like, I think Caitlin Clark is a really good player, like, obviously. But I think you could tell, like, whenever Caitlin was in her zone, she was fired up. She was not, like, she took it personal losing the championship last year. She wanted it bad. And obviously she wants it bad, so good for her for going out and getting it.
Yeah. It
is sad to see LSU go out, and I
know. It was a hard game. I'm like, I like both teams. Like, I like players on both teams. Like, I really, in my heart, I kind of knew that Iowa was going to win, because I'm like, Caitlin wants to win, and don't get in that girl's way when she wants to win. But at the same time, I'm like, but, like, Angel is crazy, Flauge is crazy. Like, I don't know. But it was really cool, though, because I was at work on, those were on Monday night, right? Mm-hmm. I was at work on Monday night, and I just put the game, like, up on my little, like, computer, against my computer, and just, like, on YouTube TV or whatever, and my coworkers were passing by, and they were like, oh, wait, you got the game on? And they're like, I'm like, yeah, for sure. I'm like, you can just pass by, like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna come by, like, between, like, me going in and out of rooms, and I'm just gonna, like, peek at that. And then, sure enough, like, throughout the night, everyone was just, like, by my phone, looking at the games. First the LSU, Iowa, and then UConn. Who'd they play? I forgot who UConn played. USC. That's who they played. Yeah.
So, yeah, UConn USC was really good, too. I feel really bad for Juju Watkins.
Oh, yes.
She gave it her all. But I mean, like, again, like, Paige Beckers would not be denied. She, like, up and down the court, like, blocks, steals. She was, the dagger little floater she hit at the end of the game was just cold-blooded. Yeah. Ice in her veins. She just drives past two defenders and puts one in over another, and that's the game, you know? And I think that, like, that's something that you can't really do anything about. Whenever special players like that get in the zone and they know it's their moment, they're just going to take it. Yeah. And I don't think there's any shame in losing to those teams, but I think that that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately. Fortunately for the losing teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Paige was going crazy. I would pass by my phone or whatever, and I would just see like a block, or I'd see like a steal at half court, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going crazy.
Yeah, she wants that crown back. Mm-hmm. So the Final Four is set for the women. It's NC State, South Carolina. They'll play each other, and then Iowa and UConn will play. So Paige is going to play Caitlin.
Crazy.
That's going to be a crazy game as well. People are saying
almost
South Carolina.
Like the final.
Yeah, I mean, it might be, but, well, South Carolina's on the other side. So people are saying South Carolina has a cakewalk to the championship. I don't know. I will say they don't have, like, Iowa, UConn, and LSU are big names, but I think every team that's seeded higher than like a 3 seed was a really good team this year. So something I do want to talk about is just like the atmosphere around the LSU Iowa game. I feel like it was not necessarily like, there's two things that I'm torn about, and I want to hear what you think about them. So the first one, obviously, I feel like it almost started like a race war in America. Like, I think that there's a lot of people who really don't like Angel Reese, and again, really don't like they'll say it's not, but right, like when black people are successful and get excited about it, I think that people get really on edge about that, get really mad about that. I don't really understand why. Why it's okay for them to get, or why it's okay for someone like Caitlin Clark to be very passionate, and
not okay for Angel to be passionate in the way that she expresses it. Like, it's not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just, like, it looks different, and, like, some people are just not used to it, and so when they are exposed to something they're not used to, or exposed to something, like, exposed to a way of celebrating that they wouldn't celebrate, then they get all weirded out, or they're like, oh my gosh, why are they going crazy? Just because it's the way that they wouldn't, and, like, they haven't, like, grown up seeing, you know, like, if they were in, like, majority, like, assuming people who are looking at this and judging it are white, like, you know, have seen, like, mainly, like, assuming their family is white, their community is white, mainly, you know, they're just not used to it, and so it's like, oh my gosh, like, what is happening? It's like, no, that's normal, you know, like, that's your normal, that's their normal, it's so umbrella over everyone, it's normal, you know, like, Angel Reese goes up and they do chest bumps, and that's just their way of, like, celebrating with each other. Caitlin and her team go and they just give each other high fives. It's just a different, like, it's just different places and different people. People are going to express themselves differently, coming from different backgrounds, and that's completely okay. And for people to get upset about it, or to say that one way of celebrating is better than another, is not right.
Yeah.
So
I think that's, like, because people like to talk, like, I don't know, I'm sure you've seen the thing, but, like, whenever Angel Reese won the national championship last year, she was walking by Caitlin, pointing to her ring finger, saying, "Give me the ring," and that's cited a lot when people are like, Angel Reese basically, like, you're scum, you deserve to lose, but, like, people forget, I think, like, the round before that, Caitlin Clark had a similar, like, had a similar run where she was very excited, and she walked past someone and did, like, the "you can't see me" in their face. Yeah.
My one of my coworkers, she was saying, because she was watching the game with me, and she was like, I don't like Caitlin because she did this thing, and I was like, oh wait, yeah, she did. So it's like, you know, she does it, and then Angel does, you know, the ring, and then, like, Angel came out, like, and said, like, it's not, like, personal, we just, it's just a game, like, we're poking fun at each other, you know, like, I don't know, and again, like, I know some people aren't used to it, but it's, you can't take these things personally, because, like, they're, I don't know, it's not something you're used to, so maybe you should figure out the intention behind it before you're like, oh my gosh, this person is the worst person on the planet, the intentions they had, or I know that they're, like, mean-spirited and, like, awful people, like, maybe figure out the actual intention before you go and, like, I don't know, decide it for yourself, one, but then, like, blast it out to the whole internet, like, two.
Yeah, so. I think that, like, that was the main thing, is, like, just think before you speak, like, that was really it, because, like, I think that, like, the most annoying thing to me, like, you know how people get on trends in the comments where they just copy what they've seen, where they're, like, I guess it started out with, like, something moment, something moment, and they're just, like, every single comment you see is like that, or bro really thought he did something, or she really thought she did something. You know, people have templates that they use when they become popular. Now it's been like, so and so is gonna save America, and by save America they mean, like, oh, you're gonna, like, eliminate this thing that I don't like, and, like, it's, like, almost like, oh, this person is based, and so people are saying, like, Caitlin Clark, like, is gonna save America by beating LSU, and it's like,
oh my gosh,
it's a little bit telling, like, what America are you talking about? Because like, maybe, like, rural white America, and I don't want to generalize, but maybe, like, people who really don't like that there's, like, I don't know, integration in sports, maybe. I don't know. Like, you could speak for that, I guess, but you're not speaking for me. Like, I would be perfectly happy if LSU advanced.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy too. Like I said, it was hard for me to decide who I wanted in my heart to, like, move forward, because I'm like, I like both these teams. I like the players on both these teams. Yeah. So, and I would like to see either one of these people, you know, go forward.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just like I get frustrated, and I probably shouldn't be reading the comments on every single post because I know what's gonna be there.
It's true.
But like it just like drives me crazy to see like I don't. You get the occasional person who's like, "Why are you showing us women's basketball?" And it's like, dude, just keep scrolling. Like, are you mentally like what's wrong with you? You're not all there. It's like, I don't understand.
Yeah. And people just say things. It's exactly like you just kind of like think you say whatever comes to your head.
Yeah.
And that's just the way some people are, and it's always going to be true.
Yeah.
So unfortunately.
The second thing I wanted to say was that I think that it is good that we can like hate a team. I think that that's good. I think that that's something that's like necessary in women's basketball and women's sports in general. I think that that's like, I don't know. We went through a time where it was like, okay, like everybody needs to celebrate everybody because this is just like when you have like women on like your sports are on a lifeline because everyone is out to basically destroy it for no reason other than they don't want to see women succeed, I guess. Like nobody is. You would think that everybody in the comment section is like a major broadcast network executive, the way that they bring up ratings, and they're like, actually, women's basketball and women's soccer is not financially viable because the ratings numbers are down this year. Dude.
Thanks for the analysis.
Yeah, like, am I watching am I choosing what sports to watch based on, like, how well they're going to do for CBS? Like, I don't own stock.
This one is actually doing... CBS said that this one would be good, so I guess my view is going to this one today.
Yeah, it's like, okay, man. Like, nobody becomes a better... What was I saying? Like, nobody does better ratings analysis than someone who sees women's sports being broadcasted. And no one becomes a financial analyst faster than people who see women asking for equal pay in sporting fields. Like,
yeah.
The amount of times I've had the NBA, WNBA pay structure horrifically explained to me on the internet is like, by people who have no idea what they're talking about, they must have just heard it on like a Manosphere podcast or something one time, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so like you feel like you almost have to be like, this is a good woman, like a good female player. Okay, like I'm gonna cheer them on. Okay, I'm gonna cheer this person on. If I don't like them, for a long time, right? If somebody says something negative about a player, it's not because like people who hate like LeBron are like, oh, I just like Jordan better, you know. Okay, it's fine. I don't think that you hate like all men's basketball players.
Mm-hmm.
But for a long time, like if anybody said anything negative about a women's player, it's because not only do they not like that person, they wanted all women to fail. And so to feel like you weren't with them, you had to be like, okay, I'm just gonna say like, okay, like we literally have to batten down the hatches and defend all of these women because they are fighting for a better tomorrow. And they are getting attacked from all sides.
Yeah, not only do they have to go and play their game, but they also have to deal with all this like media stuff.
Yeah, but now that the game is growing,
yeah,
there is room for genuine fans of the sport
to be like, oh, I prefer this one over this one, or I would take this one rather than this one player wise.
Yeah, just because I would call in a napalm strike on AT&T Stadium in Dallas doesn't mean that I don't think like men should play football. Like it means that I think that Dallas should just be nuked, just leave Fort Worth there and just remove Dallas from the earth. I don't think that that's a controversial thing to say, but like
obviously we're from Houston if you can't tell.
But now you can say that about other teams. Now I wish it didn't come with the racial element because I feel like that was a lot of it.
Yeah.
Which is the concept of intersectionality here is interesting to think about. How people say, okay, well, I don't like women playing basketball, but I definitely don't like black women playing basketball. So if my alternative is a white woman playing basketball, I will cheer for that white woman 10 times harder than I would have otherwise if she was just playing another white person. And so that's where it kind of feels like, why are we doing this? You know, like yeah. I'm all for, I hate LSU because I go to, I don't know, whoever hates LSU, Alabama.
Yeah.
Like I hate this school because they're in the SEC and they always beat my team.
They're our rivals. Yeah.
I'm all for that. I'm not for, like... There were some funny ones where they were like, Caitlin Clark, please save us. Caitlin Clark. Like the guy who's in the truck with... who's like, Donald Trump, please save us.
That was so funny.
Those are pretty funny. But just like the whole concept of that. Like, okay, Caitlin Clark is going to save us. From what? Like...
I know. I think we're good, guys. Like
they're not going to be like... They're not just going to be like, okay... We've lost now. Time to die in shame, like alone. Like no, they're just gonna go continue playing basketball because they're good.
Right? Yeah. It's like okay, well then we'll see you next season.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
And also, like Angel Reese and Flatter Johnson already won a college ring. Like
yeah,
they have nothing left to prove to you guys. Just because you only started watching when you wanted them to lose, doesn't mean that like they didn't win the championship last year.
Yeah. So.
I don't know. It's just like a whole like firestorm around that, which is really unfortunate because I think that the game was really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the fact that like people are talking about it basically all week long is good. The last thing I'll say is like Angel Reese ended up declaring for the WNBA draft this year,
which I didn't know. I saw that she was thinking about it, but that's crazy.
Yeah. So
good for her.
Well, before we talk about that, I want to talk about her press conference she gave after the game when they first asked her about it. She said she didn't know. She was going to take some time to think about it. But, I mean, I think, like, the main thing was, like, she was like, hey, like, I'm a human being.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know. It's hard to go out there every day whenever you know that, like, a whole bunch of people hate you.
It's fair.
And I feel like people... And I know ESPN does this on purpose, and it really does suck. Because they just take something... Take, a quote out of their whole interview. Don't include the question that's asked. And then they just put it up there because they know people will see that and think, how could she ever say something like that?
Yeah.
And so the whole comment section is basically just like, well, you shouldn't have been talking trash. Now you want to act like, now you want sympathy. You're just being like a sore loser. And it's like, if you listen to the full clip, like she's not saying like, okay guys, like nobody like say anything about me. I can't handle it. She's saying, I respect Caitlin Clark. I am, like, we gave it our all. Mm-hmm. She played really well. She's like, hey, maybe don't send me death threats because you hate me.
Yeah.
Maybe don't, in every comment section you see me in, post, I don't know, literally makes me ill, like, posting, like, Sid the Sloth gifs because you think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And because you just, I don't know, just straight up want to call someone ugly online.
I know, it's so mean. She's so pretty.
Or you want to talk about her GPA.
Not that she's more than her looks, but yeah, it's just all these different things, like picking it, like her looks, picking at her skill, picking it, whatever. It's like, y'all leave her alone.
Yeah, it's
she's
like,
trying to live.
She's not saying like, okay, like I can talk trash but nobody else can.
Yeah. She's
saying what you're coming from me about
is my life.
Is not about basketball. It's like you're coming to me like, I couldn't tell you what Devin Booker's GPA was while he was at freaking Kentucky. I know he wasn't going to class, so whatever it was BS anyway. Like, I couldn't tell you any of the men's grades.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you really anyone else's grades in all of, like, college, but
no.
People are like, you're stupid, you're ugly, you're a loser, you should, like, I'm sure people have sent her death threats.
I'm sure they have, yeah.
And, like, all she's asking is to be like, hey, maybe, like, put down your phone for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And think if someone came up to you in the street and said, you're ugly.
Just, and, like, genuinely. Like,
yeah, and meant it and wanted you to be hurt.
Yeah.
Because you don't post that because you are like, we're laughing together. It's like,
yeah.
In your ideal world, when you post something like that, you think, I hope this person sees it, and I hope they're hurt deeply by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, hey, maybe, like...
Don't do that.
Yeah, put the phone down and think about what that would feel like for you.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, you're so soft, like, you started it. And it's like, she's celebrating a basketball victory on a basketball court 3 seconds after the buzzer goes, talking about a basketball championship ring.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, actually, you're ugly and you should probably die. And she's like, hey, maybe don't say that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they're like, you did the same thing to Caitlin. Yeah, I must have missed the part where she said, die, Caitlin. Like,
Yeah, I guess that one got lost in translation or something, because I don't recall seeing that one.
This has just turned into like us like ranting.
Yeah, sorry about that. We're gonna move on now. She's declaring for the draft, so she's getting out of the college world and she's going to the WNBA world, the professional world.
Yeah, and then this is still gonna be me getting more professionally upset is what we're gonna call this whole segment, because that's what I'm doing right now. But people, I don't know. It boggles the mind the way that people work themselves in knots to like give a little, but still try and like hold groups of people back. Because again, it's like, okay, women's basketball is being shown to me. I don't like it. But what I do like is white people more than black people. So I will cheer for Caitlin Clark. Okay, this women's basketball thing looks pretty good, and I already don't like it, so I'll say that, like, Angel Reese should actually just stay in college because she can make more money than she will in the WNBA. Because women in the WNBA have asked for better pay structure similar to that of the NBA players. They're not asking for $200 million Supermax contracts like the NBA players are getting, but they're asking for similar percentages of the revenue generated.
Yeah. Which I think is fair.
Yeah, like, why should the men get 20% of the revenue, which I don't know if that's a real number, when the women get 10%?
Example, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. And that's all they're asking for. But of course, you hear people online say, the women are asking for the same amount of money as men. And that's when you hear people say, the NBA actually funnels all their money into the WNBA. They're the only ones keeping it alive. I'm sure they're the big part of the reason why the WNBA is around now. But this new wave of athletes...
you have to ask why that is.
Yeah.
And then look.
And I think helpful context, because I wasn't even aware of this until I started doing research for one of the videos that I put on my main channel. But, like, the NBA was on life support for a long time. Until, like, very recently, historically speaking. Like, whenever... I think it was, like, the late 70s, early 80s... The NBA was not being shown live to people in America. It was being taped and then played in, like, subpar viewing slots. Because people didn't care. Yeah. They said, I don't care to be there live. I don't care to watch it live. Tell me the score in the morning. I don't know. You're not going to do any numbers on this 2 a.m. slot. And then Magic Johnson and Larry Bird came up in college, had a huge rivalry in college, brought a ton of people to watch the sport. And then they went to the NBA, and they saved the league because they were so electrifying to watch. And again, it was the white versus black. Again, Haley Van Lith out there covering Caitlin Clark. One of the best things I've ever heard Larry Bird say is, I hate when they put a white person on me because that's a disrespect to my game. So,
dang.
That's, I don't know. Kim Oki should have read his quotes. So.
Should have looked into the playbook a little bit more.
But yeah, like, that was something I didn't know and really took me by surprise.
That's like crazy.
I mean, like, now it's like, okay, there's the NBA, the MLB, the NFL, the NHL is, like, tacked on there. Like,
yeah, sort of.
Those
Not
are,
as popular, but...
Yeah. But those are just, like, sports that happen in America.
Yeah.
But, like, this rivalry between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson was the thing that saved the NBA from being just wiped away into obscurity. Nobody wanted to watch it. And now we have the same thing kind of happening here. Yeah,
and I mean, I guess that makes sense because I have talked to, like, my coworkers, like, my friends or whatever, and, you know, just about, like, basketball. I'm like, hey, do you watch, you know, like, college basketball? Do you watch NBA, like, professional basketball? They're like, oh, I kind of like college. I'm more of a college basketball person. I'm like, oh, okay, like, why? And they're like, I just like the excitement behind it whenever March Madness rolls around. And that's really kind of whenever they get most invested. And, like, I think that's where a lot of people are involved in basketball is when March Madness rolls around because it's all the hype. You know, like, even someone who, like we said in the last podcast, like, people who know absolutely nothing about basketball put in a bracket, they get excited because they're, like, in something. So maybe, you know, like, that's why college basketball gets more traction than professional basketball, at least in the women's regard. Because I know that NBA is kind of a bigger thing now, obviously. But like men's NBA.
I mean, you know how it is. There's, I don't know what it is, but people will say like, oh, like the people in college just play for the passion of the game, and like people in professionals just get paid a lot.
Dang.
I mean, you know,
it's kind of weird.
The genre of person that is like, I don't watch the pros. I just watch college.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're suspicious, but you know, you can watch whatever you want. But you know,
yeah,
the people that I've met in my life, I've been like, don't explain yourself because I would like to continue talking to you. You know.
Yeah, it just really depends, and some people may prefer basketball or college basketball. Some people may prefer professional, but I feel like I haven't watched a single WNBA game, but I want to see these players in the WNBA, and I feel like that'll be a good thing for the WNBA.
Yeah.
Is like having these players go and like declare themselves for the draft.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like year by year, all these like fantastic players, and like people continuing to look and see who the shining stars are on these teams, and like, I don't know, just like you do for men's, and then how they go to the draft, and then you follow them up into their professional career and everything. I just feel like it has to kind of like still get some traction before it becomes like, you know, really something really popular. And not to say that it shouldn't already be, you know, like I should probably watch a WNBA game, but because it's crazy. Kelsey Plum, like,
I forced you to watch that game. The one.
Oh, that's right. I did watch
Aces
that
game.
one. Yeah.
The other problem is like they're broadcast like 2:00 in the afternoon on like a Saturday, or like in the middle of a work day. So it's like
unfortunate.
It's hard to watch, but yeah.
But anyways, I'll get off my soapbox.
I think that's the important part, right? Is like these players are going to elevate the WNBA game. Not that there isn't already talent there, and again, we need more teams in the WNBA because a lot of these players get drafted and then have to be cut because I think there's only 12 teams in the WNBA. So,
really?
Yeah, so that's...
Oh my gosh.
Only 12 times 15 is what? I don't know. Let me see.
Wait, I can do it. 12 times 15. 180.
180. Yes, there's 12 teams. There's 180 players. Now, that is on enough spots for all the talented players to be playing in America. A lot of these good players have to go play overseas.
Dang.
And that's I think the crime of the WNBA is like it doesn't get the support it needs for these women to continue to play at a high level. Like so many players like Nikola Jokic, if he is playing in the women's game, he doesn't stay on the roster. I mean, I think he was drafted in the second round. They have a second round in the WNBA draft, but half those players don't stay on the team because there's just no room. They have their established lineups already, and if you're really good, you could crack into one of those, but if you're not better than the role players already have, they're just going to stick with them.
Yeah.
So, like, someone like Nikola Jokic, who needed a couple years to adjust to the game, but had the room on one of the 30 NBA teams to develop himself, is now like almost going to be a two-time MVP.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows how many players have just not had the chance to play in the WNBA. I mean, like the Houston Comets, they won the first 4 WNBA championships.
Mm.
They do not exist anymore.
Dang. I was going to say, we have a team?
We do not.
Dang.
Because they were the owner tried to sell them. Nobody wanted to buy them.
Dang.
And so the WNBA was just like, okay, you just don't exist anymore.
That's kind of sad.
Our most storied franchise, just gone.
Jeez. That's so sad.
And it really is sad. And it's like a tragedy to lose that history.
Yeah.
And to be like, oh, the banner's still hanging in the Toyota Center.
Oh.
You can still see them there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they should bring them back. I think they should. So, we'll put a petition out to bring back the Houston Comets.
Go ahead and sign it.
But yeah, I just think that like it's going to be really good for the sport that Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark entering the draft together. That rivalry will continue in the league. And hopefully there's enough interest generated to where people will start watching the WNBA because they want to see that continually happen over and over and over again. That's good for the game. Again, like my original point though is like I hate whenever people are like, you should actually stay in college because you'll make more money with your NIL deals than you will in the WNBA because they make nothing. It's like, okay, first of all, let's change that then.
Yeah, why is that the reason then? Or, like, why is that, like, a thing?
Maybe it's because they've asked for money, right? That's why people threaten Megan Rapinoe, like, constantly. It's because she's advocated for equal pay.
Yeah.
So I guess in their minds, like, these women in the WNBA are the enemy. These women are still safe women because they haven't asked for too much yet, I suppose.
I guess. Yeah.
And so now that they're going to go to the WNBA, which we don't like because they want equal pay. But in college, we haven't heard anything about that yet. And so, I don't know. Maybe that's something about it. But, like, you keep your, like, name, image, and likeness. Only professional players were able to have that until, like, 3 years ago.
And they can still get NIL deals professionally, right?
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, name, image, likeness deals were only available to pros before. So when you say, like, oh, well, the NIL deals are actually worth more than you'll make in the WNBA, why would they stop?
Yeah.
Like,
follow them up.
Again, whenever Jose Altuve does ads for HEB, he's not like, man, I really wish I could get paid for this if only I was in college. No, they just say, here's a check for you, Jose Altuve. I don't care where you are. You are like one of the top stars in the game, and you're funny, and you're good in commercials. So, here.
Yeah.
Like, Jake from State Farm is not like, man, I really wish I could have made the Kentucky team so I could get paid for all these ads, but I am not currently enrolled in a university, so guess I'm just making the Actors Guild minimum wage here.
Yep, unfortunately.
Like, why would it stop? Why would it stop?
Yeah.
That can't be your argument. You can just add that to your WNBA salary. Because you're not on payroll from the school.
Yeah, no, you're not.
So.
Yeah, that's kind of a lame point.
I'm just like, why do we continue to, like, pick and choose the slight amount of credit that we give to the women's game? It drives me crazy. I had another thing to get mad about women's basketball. Probably just skip it.
But we probably need to table it for the time being.
Another thing I'm mad about, Jamal Shed going down in the Houston game.
Tragic. We would have won the game if it weren't for him going out.
Yeah. It was really hard to watch. That feels like ages ago now.
It does.
Houston and Duke, but...
Feels like forever ago.
Oh.
I knew Duke couldn't do it. Respectfully.
I mean, they barely squeaked out a win against Houston without their main playmaker. I think that it was a really hard-fought game by the Cougars all the way down to the wire.
Yeah.
Even without, like, the guy that really makes their team go.
Yeah.
It was, like, heartbreaking. I think we were playing pickleball at the time when we saw the announcement.
He went down, yeah.
So, it just, like...
Painful.
It is really sad that they worked so hard all year just to get bounced by
I know.
Duke.
They were good all year.
Yeah.
Sad. Well, madness.
Yeah. I mean, it's just unfortunate. You can't really control it. UConn rolled through the whole thing.
Yeah.
It seems like they can't be stopped.
Yeah, unfortunately for the other teams.
I mean, they'll play a tough team in Alabama. I think that if they catch fire from three, they can, like... I think they can pull out the upset, but I'm hoping they can. But I don't know. Like, UConn is just dominating teams. Just taking care of business. Like,
honestly.
They're doing what they were, like, projected to do, and that's just what they're going to do.
It's crazy. It's crazy that both NC State and UConn men's and women's teams have advanced to the Final Four.
Yeah. That is cool.
It's pretty sick.
NC State is really good, like, a really good story. I really love DJ Burns, the center.
I like him too. Oh, he's so sweet. I got to hear him talk about something with his coach recently on some, like, daytime ESPN show.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Man, he just eats up guys inside. Like, he's a unit, but he moves really well. A lot of people are, like, asking him to, like, go do, like, a pro day for, like, offensive tackle in the NFL, which, I mean, it sort of makes sense. I think that, like, I don't like whenever, like, executives are like, I know you love basketball. Forget about that. come play offensive tackle for us.
But you look like you should be an offensive tackle.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it doesn't matter what he looks like. It matters that you can get it done with the game that he likes.
Yeah, like he's playing basketball for a reason. Same way where people are like, I know you love playing quarterback, but I think you should really try wide receiver because
you'll just be so good. You'll be so much happier.
Yeah.
Like, no, I know what I want.
Yeah, like it just, I don't know. Like nobody knows a player's game better than themselves. So I think that like DJ Burns, I don't know if his like height to weight ratio is going to translate to the NBA necessarily, but I don't see why you don't give him a chance to at least try.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's done well enough. His footwork is unmatched. I mean, it's something that you don't even really see that often in the NBA. Just like a technician down there. Like he really reminds me a lot of Hakeem. And I think that that's like, obviously not the same body type because Hakeem was a freak of nature. Hakeem Olajuwon. But I think that he is just like someone who takes a lot of pride in their work. And that's the really like strange part about it. When people are like, I know, like obviously I can tell you put the time in. Like you don't just get like this footwork stuff is not like, it's very hard not to travel. Like I don't know if you've seen like seeing the games in the tournament where people are just like, especially in the NBA, people travel all the time. But like it is so hard to get people off their balance down there on the low block and stay within the rules of the game. And he just does it so well, so quickly and effortlessly that you can tell he's been working at it really a long time.
Dang.
And yet people are like, you could probably just give it up.
Oh. Yeah, that's sad. Poor guy.
I mean, it might feel nice to be like, okay, like these guys think that I'm like, because offensive tackle is like a very technical position as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like footwork and stuff like that, so he could.
Yeah, and not to say these people are like, that all these people that are like, hey, have you tried this? That are like out to get him or like make him give up his passion. Like they may just genuinely be like, wow, like I see this, it would translate well into this. Like maybe give it a try. And like DJ Burns can be like, yeah, that does sound like fun at the least, you know, or he'd be like, no, it's okay, like that's his choice. Mm-hmm. But so not to say that all these people are like trying to make people give up their passions.
No, I'm saying that.
Okay, cool. Let the record stand.
So yeah, Purdue, I don't really care.
I mean, they're good. I think it's going to be UConn and Purdue, personally.
Yeah, that's... Zach Edey is one of those guys that, like, makes me question how people watch basketball before, like, 2000. Like, this, like, huge guy gets in the post and just, like, he's tall. Like, he's very skilled as well, but, like, it's just, like, matchup nightmare for everybody that they play, to where it's, like, you probably could get it done by just being that tall at this point, but I don't know. Like he gets fouled a lot. He hits his free throws, so good for him. He's the player of the year this year, I believe, in men's college basketball. So
dang. Pop off.
He is cracked. Again, don't know if it's someone who's going to translate to the NBA at his like the way that he moves and the way that he is like built. But for right now, I'm sure Purdue fans are very happy to have him. Last thing on the tournament. I think people are fouling out too much.
Yeah, it's very sad because then they can't play. Like with Angel Reese, like that really sucked that she went. And like, I will say, her last foul was a charge, pretty intentional. Or maybe she just was like, it's my first reaction to like put a shoulder to someone. But like, I get it. But at the same time, like I feel like there should be more room. Because there's more room professionally for fouls, right?
Yeah, in the NBA you get 6 fouls before you leave the contest. But I feel like...
Because it sucks. Because then they can't put everything they've worked for. Like, you know, you lose your route. You don't get another game. Yeah. So it just kind of sucks. Like, hey, our whole starting bench is gone. Yeah. Actually.
And I don't understand why you would ever want that in a game where you're trying to sell tickets. Like, at the end of the day, you're trying to get people to watch. But, like, I feel like every single game in this tournament has just been like, oh, this person's got to go sit for 10 minutes because... They got 2 fouls in the first, and now they just have to watch the rest of the game for the half. It's like, what's the difference? Like, what's the harm in adding one more foul? I don't know if it's like, I don't know what the reason is. I don't even know. But I think that it would be helpful, just because I've seen so many great players be like, oh, well, I'm going to sit the rest of the first half then, because if I don't, I'm literally going to be done by the start of the second half. So...
And that just stinks. It's like, well, that's not fun for anyone.
Yeah, like, what did I come here to watch? I came here to watch you talk about how this player can't play because they have so many fouls. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see shots of them on the bench while their team goes down by more and more and more and more, and you're like, wow, this would be really great if they could come in right now. Too bad they can't.
Wow, wouldn't it be great if this player on this team could play on this team?
Yeah. So, change it, NCAA, if you have the power to do anything at this point. Let's see, where are we at? We're just over an hour. We got a couple more things on here. I'll wait on the Rashee Rice car crash situation until we have more information on that.
Fair.
Yeah. I don't even know if we can talk about that before, like, without, like, a visual, and I don't really feel like editing any visuals into this. Last thing, we could talk about some of the nonsense that's happening in, like, the MLB. The MLB just started. I don't know.
Ish. Yeah.
We'll see whenever we start to pick up interest in the MLB. I think that's one of the main driving points of, like, college sports popularity, especially the March Madness tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Is not that it's better basketball, because it's not. It's terrible basketball. Like,
some of the basketball we watch is not. Yeah, it is kind of like, oh my gosh, what are we just throwing the ball? Like,
yeah,
guys, please.
it's a nightmare. And then you watch an NBA game and those guys are just like making whatever shot they feel like they want to at the time.
Yeah. Very big difference.
But the main difference is, like, there's a sense of urgency in the tournament because, like you said, it's one game. You lose that game, you're done for the year.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you tune into an NBA game at the same time, and it's like, this is game 65. Like,
and they're just like sweat on the court. Like, people are like literally like charging down the paint or into the paint or whatever, and like putting I don't know, it's just like crazy. Like, highlights that I see on Instagram, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what happened? I'm like, this is the first half. Like, why are we going so hard in the first half? It's crazy.
Yeah. So I think that, like, the length of the MLB season especially,
it's so long,
is one of those things where it's like, people wonder why baseball is dying. It's because I don't care to tune in to watch, like, the Astros play the Yankees at, like, 3:00.
It
while
literally,
I'm at work.
Yeah, like, the season is more than 6 months long.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy. That is so crazy.
So,
I mean, but I guess no, football is football 6 months?
well, the difference is that football is
maybe
not playing 7 games. Like,
that's fair.
Like,
yeah,
you're a fan of an MLB team. You might watch 5 games in 1 week.
Yeah.
That's like literally 15 hours of baseball that you're consuming.
Yeah, because those games are long.
A week. That's like a part-time job. So.
Yeah, it's just a lot to keep up with.
So
yeah,
forgive us if we check the box score. But we can talk about some of the major stories. Things that I saw on Instagram that I thought were a little bit strange. The Rays hung a banner for making the wild card. So.
Do you not do that?
No. In Minute Maid, I think we have, like, our AL West championships. I don't even think we have that anymore. I think in Minute Maid, they have the AL pennants. So when we went to the World Series, you'll hang your AL pennant. And then when you win the World Series, you'll hang your World Series flag.
Absolutely, yes.
In NRG, like, you hang your AFC South Division champions. That's all they have.
Yeah.
They're definitely not putting up, like, in 2012 we made the playoffs for the first time and TJ Yates won 10-6. Like, they didn't put up a flag for the wild card round.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I can't explain it. I guess, like, if you're the Rays and you're having trouble getting people into the stadium, like, you have a banner night for your wild card round thing.
Wild card.
But, like, I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit, like, loser behavior to be like, dang. We snuck in there. You remember whenever we snuck into the playoffs that year?
Tell us we did a good job. We did a good job.
Yeah.
We did do a good job.
And the Phillies, they hung one.
A wild card banner?
I think they just hung one for, like, that season. Like, they just thought they did really
season?
well. Like, I think they lost in the NL. I don't think they even made the NLCS. I think they just lost in the divisional.
Dang.
Let me see. Where did the Phillies finish?
Dang. I mean, yeah, it doesn't seem like Something you should do, I guess.
So, yeah, so they lost to the Diamondbacks October 24th. That is
That's so long ago.
So they lost in the NLCS. They did not even win the NLCS, the National League Championship Series, to go to the World Series. They lost that. And so they just hung a banner for, like, the season. Because technically they didn't win the pennant in the NL. But they just were like, we did really well. But, like, the Phillies just won a World Series. Like, they didn't... It's not like they're in poverty. They literally just beat the Astros, like, less than 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're at the point where you need to be hanging. No, they didn't. They lost, didn't they?
Actually, I don't know. It doesn't sound right that they...
No, the Nationals beat us.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think the Phillies beat... Maybe in, like, before the World Series.
Let's see. So, yeah, they lost in 2022. They
Period.
last won in 2008 against the Rays. So...
How ironic.
That was the loser bowl, I guess. But yeah, they have 2 championships in their... They beat the Royals and the Rays in 1980 and 2008.
Dang.
So it's not like they're, like, forever, like, impoverished. Like, the Astros didn't win one until 2017/2022.
Allegedly.
So it's like... I can understand if maybe they were hanging, like, AL West pennants in their, like, banner, like, we made the playoffs, or 100 loss season in the...
A job well done pennant.
Yeah, like, good, we really love our fans pennant, or something like that. So, I don't know.
That's funny.
That's, like, that was just one of the things I was like, what are we doing? Like, why? Why do you feel the need to do this, you know?
They just want to show everyone that they thought they did a good job.
I guess. They're like, hey guys, remember this?
They're like, you guys really should be proud of us because we think we did a pretty stinking good job last season, even though we didn't go really anywhere.
Okay, so maybe it was a wild card banner.
Oh, okay.
Um...
People should start doing the season one though.
Well, you know it does. It just says 2023. So.
Well, wait, don't those?
Yeah, I don't.
Say the year as well. But that one's blue.
Yeah, I think it is meant to signify
the powder blue wild card flag.
Yeah, that's something else there.
I feel like it doesn't match the whites. Also, it's kind of an ugly flag. Just the year, and there's no creativity behind that.
Yeah. Well, it's probably
slap a year on a flag.
It's probably like someone was gonna have like their bobbleheads handed out that night, and then turns out like they canceled or whatever. Like the truck like tipped over on the way there, and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like we have to get our sign guy to like mock up a flag in like 8 hours, and like okay, Bryce Harper bobblehead night is canceled. It's now wild card pennant night. Like let's go. Everybody who comes in is going to get this shirt that's been, like, ironed on to a Fruit of the Loom white shirt that says NL Wildcard 2023.
The interns just went to Walmart and got, like, packages and packages of, like,
yeah, they
Hanes
they
t-shirts.
Just tie-dyed a bunch of Hanes shirts, and they're like, look, it's kind of blue and red.
Powder blue, guys. Look, it works.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so...
It is funny.
I think that if there was anyone who was ever going to start putting up banners like this, I think that the Texans, the Astros would start. The Rockets are a winning franchise. They've won 2 championships in their past, so
dang,
they're all clear. And the Comets have 4 championships hanging in their rafters. So
crazy.
Basketball, we're a city of champions. Everything else, not so much.
Clutch City.
Yeah, Clutch City. So
this is how I want to be celebrating all my little victories like this.
Yeah,
no one hangs the flags.
If you're listening to this podcast, if you're still listening, you know what? Hang a banner for yourself for being a fan.
You know what? You'll get a powder pink banner.
Yeah, and we're gonna hang a pennant in here for finishing a second episode. That's what we're gonna do.
Everyone gets pennants for this episode. Oh, no. So make yourself one, slap the year on it.
We're turning into the participation trophy. Everybody gets participation trophies these days. Nobody ever earns anything anymore. Okay.
This is earned.
Oh. Yeah. But that's it. I think we talked for a while about women's basketball. We got professionally upset. So, hopefully...
Give us your opinions
Yeah.
on all this stuff. Don't be mean, but please give us your opinions. We'd love to have a conversation. Not an argument, but we would love a conversation.
I'll have an argument with you if you've ever posted the Sid the Sloth gif. I will...
I'll be the conversationalist. Aaron will take on the more heavy-duty conversations.
Yeah.
But again, let's just be kind. Let's the point of having these discussions is to walk away with a new perspective, at least, on these things. So if you'd like to provide your own perspective, since we've provided our perspective, then go ahead and give it to us.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we have for this week. I think the main takeaways, again, remember that people are human beings. I don't know how to explain to you that you should have compassion for other people. That's basically the gist of this week. And also bring back the Houston Comets.
Bring them back.
I think that'll be our mission for this podcast. Is that
Stay tuned.
If we don't get... Let's look at some of this merch. Like, this...
Dude, the Rockets merch is so good.
If you think that's good, you need to check out some of the stuff on this.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Like, this is the most 2000s, like...
2000s is so cool, though. 2000s fashion.
It is great. So, if we can bring back the comments, I would love that more than anything. So, we're going to start a petition. We're going to start a movement here on this podcast. We're going to be a Houston Comments podcast, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, like, subscribe, rate 5 stars if you're listening to us on Spotify.
Please.
Yeah, that'd be great.
They have a fans... The comments have a fans banner of sorts.
Yeah, I guess that's
funny.
one last goodbye. They said, here's the fans going into the rafters. Also, your team is being disbanded.
Anyways, we won't keep rambling.
So,
thanks for tuning in, guys. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you guys next week.